It's simply known as the greatest 2 minutes in sports. From the iconic Twin Spires to the mint juleps in my old Kentucky home. And who can forget those crazy hats? This marks the 145th Run for the Roses and a place in history. And now it's Inside the Derby, presented by XpressBet. Welcome, everybody. XpressBet. That is the place to study the most recent forms. You can catch video of horses working out at Churchill Downs. I welcome in, of course, Vinny Magliulo and Patrick McQuiggan, the South Point handicapper. They've got a seminar planned for this running of the Kentucky Derby. Welcome, guys. And joining us on the line right now, we have one of the great experts, Millie Ball. She's an XpressBet host over there. Millie, how are you? And big things happening with the Kentucky Derby with Omaha Beach having been scratched. How are you feeling about it right now?
Oh, well, hi, and thank you for having me on. I was crushed, as I'm sure the, connections were with the news of Omaha Beach, but I only just read an article about Ali Sheba and how he had the exact same entrapting epiglottis situation as an early 3-year-old, and they did the surgery quick enough, and he went on to win 2 legs of the Triple Crown. So the best news is this is not a career-ending thing. It's just a very unfortunate deal with timing for Omaha Beach and his connection. So my heart goes out to them. And the other thing is that I was on Game Winner all along, and now Game Winner is the morning line favorite. So there's even more pressure on Game Winner, and more disappointingly, he's going to be a shorter price than I was hoping for.
Millie, I'm with you. I was on the Game Winner on the top of my ticket as well. I'm not going to deviate from it, but I guess the good thing, Millie, is that the fact that the Derby is, in fact, the Derby, the most wagered event, the most wagered racing event of the year. There still should be some liquidity in the pool. We'll get a decent price. How important to you, Millie, is the fact that a horse has had a trip over the track and a victorious trip, including Game Winner with the Breeders' Cup Juvenile?
It's huge to me. I think that, you go back and you watch his Breeders' Cup Juvenile victory, and you see not only was he slow away from the gate, but then he got into a little bit of trouble, and then he was extremely wide. I mean, about as wide as you could go. He probably ran the 1.25 miles at the juvenile distance that day, and still was able to win. He is all heart, that horse. Trip seems to be his nemesis, particularly this year. I mean, he's had exceptionally wide trips, particularly, his last time where he got beat by his stablemate. He got beat by his stablemate about a half a length. And if you actually look on Trackers, which I like to follow Trackers, he lost the equivalent of 4.5 lengths in that race. So that's how much further he had to run, and he didn't get beat that very, far. So I thought that was a very positive prep race for Game Winner going on to the Kentucky Derby.
Millie, we have Patrick McQuiggan of the South Point with us also. And Patrick, let me ask you your opinion. Vinny and Millie very high on Game Winner. Your feeling about one of the Bob Baffert-trained trio of horses who will run in the Derby?
Well, I think Millie was pointing something out that's real important. The lost ground that Game Winners has had in his past races, breaking from post 16 with Joel Rosario, he's going to be wide again, and he'll be wide, keep him out of trouble, and if he loses too much, he might have a problem. But I have him in, he's my third choice into the race. I have 2 right above him.
And who are the 2 that you have above him, Patrick?
I have Improbable on top and Maximum Security second.
All right, Millie, what's your feeling about Improbable and Maximum Security?
Improbable, he's probably the prettiest mover of any of the horses going into the Derby. He has the most efficient style, but pretty is as pretty does. I mean, he's got to perform on Derby day. His work, I thought, was excellent over the track. In fact, you notice the difference. These Southern California horses, like Omaha Beach and now Improbable, who were training in Southern California over Santa Anita, a much deeper track, how much easier they get over the track at Churchill Downs. Now, sadly, Omaha Beach won't get a chance to run, but Improbable, my concern with him is how he handles the preliminaries, getting to the gate, because he is a little bit of a highly strung horse. He can get a tad aggressive in some of his races. We've seen that. And to me, his acting up when he shipped back and ran in the Rebel Stakes at the gate, that was a notch against him for me, and it's going to be even crazier. It's like a zoo on Derby Day, and I'm very concerned how he mentally handles all of that prior to the race.
As you know, Millie, I liked Omaha Beach a lot, but I'm going to fall back on class. There's a Tapit horse in this race, Tacitus, number 8, trained by Bill Mott, ridden by Jose Ortiz. Give me your read on Tacitus.
I think if there is a horse that has progressed the most from the beginning of their 3-year-old year to the first Saturday in May, it's that horse Tacitus. I mean, the changes we've seen in him and his workouts in the morning, and particularly his races in the afternoon. I mean, he was so green when he ran and won the Tampa Bay Derby, and he was much more professional in the Wood Memorial. I think his pedigree is arguably the best to get the 1.25 mile distance. So I think he's got a very, very legitimate shot to win it.
And 1, 3, or 4. Vinny, your feeling about Tacitus?
I love Tacitus as well. I'm going to use Tacitus in my exotics, Brent. I mean, I think I love the breeding of the horse, and I know the breeding typically points towards the Preakness and the Belmont, but I think it's time for the Derby is going to be able to have him hit the board.
Patrick, Tacitus, my friend.
He's my 4th choice. He definitely has a huge shot in this race. I love the way he ran down Tax in the Wood Memorial. He set the perfect trip. He closed very strongly. I do like him, and he's an improving horse. Like Millie said, I love improving horses, especially 3-year-olds at this time of year.
Millie, Patrick mentioned a horse that I find interesting to finish down in the exotics, and that's Tax. Now, I don't particularly like the number 2 post position. They've got him morning line around 20-1 or so. Junior Alvarado in the irons. What's your feeling, and have you watched Tax work out?
Yes, I actually have him in an exacta box on the Express Bet wagering guide. I used him because of the way that he was finishing up when he ran second in the Wood Memorial. He's a horse that he's the perfect type of horse that breaks out of the gate and switches off. He immediately gets into his rhythm, his groove, and he's very focused. And I love those types of horses when you're looking at the Kentucky Derby or even the Belmont, even more so when you're going 1.5 miles. You've got to reserve that energy and be in the right frame of mind. And he's able to do that. And so I could see him, breaking there and just, getting into that groove. Now, I don't know if he's good enough to run, 1-2, but I certainly, thought put him in the exacta just in case he clunks up for second. If not, I would use him, underneath in your exotics.
Millie, you brought up a terrific point about you watching Tax work out. As a former exercise rider, you have a perspective that we don't, many others don't, and that's a big advantage in my opinion. Who have you watched and liked working out consistently, particularly this week at Churchill Downs?
Improbable really impressed me in his work over the Churchill Downs surface, and by my standards as well. I mean, his last couple of works have been amazing. Now, he's a very enthusiastic workhorse, and I hope that, when he's surrounded by, at this point, 18 other horses, he doesn't get too aggressive, but he just springs over that track, and he looks so happy and healthy doing it. He's the type of horse that I think is going to run the race of his life on Saturday. I just don't know if that race of his life is going to be the best race at 1.25 miles. That's the only, concern I have for him. But he is training out of his mind. He looks fantastic back there.
Millie, before you go back to your express bet duties, that accent, English or Australian?
You didn't say Irish, thank goodness for that. No, it's English. It's English, but I've been here now. I'm going on my 21st year of being out here in Southern California from England, and I think, that American twang is working its way in.
Millie, favorite track in England?
My very favorite. Oh, in England, I would have to say Ascot and then Newbury, Newbury is the track that I grew up around. My favorite track in the world is Chantilly, most beautiful racetrack besides the backdrop at Santa Anita. I loved and had very fond memories at Chantilly in France.
All right. Millie Ball, one of the expert reporters and hosts at XpressBet. And Millie, thank you so much. And a reminder for everybody who wants to see some of the workouts, go to expressbet.com. And by the way, you want to sign up. And if you use the code Brent200, you'll get $200 extra to bet. There's still time. You can use it on the Kentucky Derby. We're going to come back. We're still talking to the experts. vsin.com, Sirius XM 204. It's Inside the Derby, presented by XpressBet. You can listen to VSIN on Sirius XM channel 204 and follow us online at vsin.com and on Twitter at vsin live.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in a state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
Attention serious horse players, this is a pop-up edition of the Ron Flatter Mini Racing Pod, the Kentucky Derby Preview with Patrick McQuiggan.
It's such a fantastic race. Think about it. It's 144 years of history of this race. I get excited for this time of year, the Kentucky Derby.
Dave Tooley.
We're all trying to find the winner here, but trying to build those exotic tickets are just as important because the payoffs are always huge just because of all the mathematical possibilities with the 20-horse field.
Vinny Magliulo.
There's great value. Everybody gets involved. It could be the casual fan to the more sophisticated fan. And the reason that it has that appeal is because of the size of the field.
The four of us will go through all 20 horses in the Derby field one by one, and you can hear it right now. The pop-up edition of the Ron Flatter Racing Pod, available through Apple, Google, Stitcher, and at vsin.com/podcasts. Sponsored by XpressBet.
Taming the briar patch, mowing the lawn, or trimming Yeti, whatever you call it. It's about time we all talked about manscaping. 9 out of 10 women of all ages prefer their guy manscaped. But you gotta have the right tools for the jewels. Pop over to manscaped.com. Check out their perfect package, the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. That was a smash hit on Shark Tank. It features the Lawn Mower, a precision trimmer engineered for below-the-waist grooming. Its skin-safe technology means no more accidental nicks and burns. Check out the Lawn Mower and the amazing grooming and hygiene products that come with your perfect package. Get 20% off plus free shipping today. Visit manscaped.com. Use the promo code BETS. Again, use promo code BETS at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in a state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
Welcome back to Inside the Derby and a look at one of the American sports treasures, the Kentucky Derby, presented by VSiN and XpressBet. Well, we want to check in with another XpressBet expert, one of their fine hosts. Jeff Seigel is with us. And, Jeff, we've talked about some of the prep races leading up to the Kentucky Derby. With Omaha Beach scratching, are there any other of those races other than the Arkansas Derby that now jump up on your list, Jeff?
Well, I thought the Arkansas Derby was the toughest one for sure, and with Omaha Beach out. But I also want to bring up that actually Improbable ran very, very well in that same race, went second. He was 5 clear of everybody else. So I still think that was the toughest race. But right behind it was the Santa Anita Derby, a very contentious race. And I think the 2 Baffert horses that were in that race, Roadster and Game Winner, are going to run very, very well. And I think they may be the 2 that you have to worry about the most in addition to Improbable. Behind that was the Florida Derby, a good race, but a race that was accomplished on the front end through slow early splits. So I'm not sure if you can take that form at face value, though. Maximum Security, who was undefeated, won that race very impressively, and who knows how good he could be. Then we have the Wood Memorial behind that, and then the Bluegrass. But I really thought the Arkansas Derby was the toughest.
Jeff, why is Bob Baffert so successful at Churchill Downs in the running of the Kentucky Derby? What's the key to his success with this great race?
Well, I think there are 3 reasons. A, he's a superb trainer. That's number 1. Number 2 is he trains in California, so he very rarely has any kind of weather to worry about, and he can kind of plan ahead, and he knows exactly how to have a horse peak. And number 3, he gets really good horses. I mean, he is a terrific evaluator of young stock, not only in terms of pedigree, but in conformation. He buys a lot in the 2-year-old sales, so he's very, very good at evaluating stride and things like that. And you know, he just, you know, he has quite a few that are capable of getting there. He starts off with maybe 15 or so that, on paper anyway, should get there, and then by attrition they get down to 4 or 5. But he's loaded every year, and all he has to do is have some good luck with regards to health, and he's got a very good chance to be very, very successful.
And, Jeff, obviously with the scratching of Omaha Beach, everybody's had to juggle who they think will win and some of their exotics. What do you have now as a result of this, of your top 5 list, and who do you think will finish first?
Well, as you said, I really liked Omaha Beach, and in watching Omaha Beach, I also watched Improbable, and if I loved, and I really did, Omaha Beach, and he's not in there, why not take the horse that was second to him and was 5 clear of everybody else in that race? And I actually thought Improbable was the leading contender at the first of the year. Now, he hasn't won yet this year, but I like him strongly on top, and again, if I liked Omaha Beach, why wouldn't I like Improbable without Omaha Beach in the race? I think among the others, I think Maximum Security looks like he could be the controlling speed. He's a very good horse. He could be dangerous. I have him second only because I think he's going to be in front. Then I have the 2 Baffert horses, Roadster and Game Winner. They were very close together in the Santa Anita Derby. Roadster maybe has a little bit more improvement in him because he's lightly raced, but Game Winner has an awfully important win in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile at Churchill Downs, so that is very, very important. And then for 5, I think maybe I would put as a price by my standards. I think he's a rapidly progressing colt, trained by Brett Calhoun. He's won his last 2. His buyer speed figures are rising. I think he'll handle an off track, and he's got enough tactical speed to lay fairly close and then have his chance, and I think he will like 1.25 miles. But for me, I'm all in on Improbable.
All right, Improbable. Jeff Seigel, thank you so much for your time. I know how busy you guys are there at Churchill Downs, and you can watch Jeff, of course, over on XpressBet. They do a great job with races around the country. And a reminder, go to expressbet.com, and you can still get their latest findings leading up to the Kentucky Derby. Patrick, what is your feeling? Did you have Omaha Beach high on your list? Did it cause you to juggle who you like and don't like in this Derby?
No, I was trying to beat Omaha Beach this time. You know, I have a tendency.
You trying to beat a favorite?
I
Oh, what a
always try to
shock.
beat a favorite. So,
What, do you got another horse from Dubai you want to give me? Come on, my man.
I think Jeff made a big point there, and it's very important into the handicapping, is because each of these horses are coming from different prep races, and he was ranking the prep races of which ones he felt were the strongest and go down to the weakest. The Dubai was absolutely the weakest this year. The strongest, I agree with him 100%, was the Arkansas Derby. What was interesting about the Santa Anita Derby, Brent, was the Santa Anita Derby, they ran 10 lengths faster that day than they did in the Santa Anita Handicap. And in the Handicap, that was Gift Box and McKenzie.
You know, Brent, for me, it was interesting. What he talked about in ranking the prep races. We oftentimes talk about, we have power ratings for teams, we have rankings per conferences and divisions. I love his point there. For me, I personally, by my standards, I know a lot of respected opinions, including Jeff, they were going to look at it. To me, I want him to draw some of that money away. I'll go elsewhere because of that particular race. Also, the fact that I want to see him a little bit longer, maybe as a 4-year-old, against better competition.
Okay, so one of our other experts here at VSiN, Johnny Avello, who is the lead bookmaker with DraftKings, okay? And Eddie Olczyk is one of the announcers on NBC. He does a terrific job covering the Triple Crown races as well as his duties as one of their outstanding hockey announcers over at NBC. And Johnny Avello are caught up with Eddie Olczyk of NBC.
I've been betting the Derby a long time, and I know you have, and I always look for a price in the Derby. And over the last 6 years or so, you know, it's been all favorites. And, you know, I ran a future book for many years and actually got destroyed on most of those years because, you know, the horses that in September that I had in my future book, half of them were getting to the Derby, which was very unusual. So the way that these favorites have been winning, do you think it changes the bettor's mindset, you know, to see all these favorites and now instead of looking for a 12 or 20 to 1 horse, we're more concentrating on the favorites now? And why are the favorites? Why is this happening? Do you have a reason for that?
Yeah, no, a couple of great questions, Johnny. I think first off with the favorites, I think it goes in cycles. I really do. And when you look at the horses that have won here recently, I mean, we've had 2 Triple Crown winners, enough said. You know, you get a horse like California Chrome. You know, so I just think that, you know, the best horses have been able to arrive Derby week and run to what they've been able to accomplish up until that point. It goes in cycles. I think it's like anything else, whether it's favorites in footballs on Sunday or, you know, favorites in hockey or road teams come playoff time in hockey. I mean, sometimes it just goes like that. And, you know, I think as far as the futures aspect of it and people looking at it and then, you know, betting the favorite, there's no doubt. I mean, people gravitate to favorites and they gravitate to names. And Bob Baffert's got 3 horses, and all 3 of his horses are going to take money. I mean, they're all going to take money, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them all be the same, you know, around the same odds, 6-7 to 1, Improbable, Game Winner, and of course Roadster. But you guys know this. Last year I think they bet just over $68 million in the win play show pool. 38 million of it was in the win pool. People do gravitate to favorites, but you also have that other money where you have people that watch horse racing one time for 2 hours on a Saturday, the first Saturday in May. And there's a lot of that money, you know, I don't know what the proper terminology to use is, but you got a lot of inexperienced money coming into the pool. And a lot of it is, you know, going to My Boy Jack or Long Range Toddy or, you know, so, you know, for the guys, the big handicappers, you know, they don't mind that at all. I've had a friend tell me he's been telling me this for the last 25 years, and I've seen his tickets, and he finds that the best day to be a show player and I'm not a show player. I do jump in every once in a while when I see bridge jumpers, but he says Derby Day is the best day if you like somebody to go ahead, and that's when you take your shot on going into the show pool. And you look at the show prices over the course of the last 10 years, you'd be shocked at what some of these horses have paid to show. And look, somebody's going to bet $1,000 or $10,000, or somebody that's really into it and bet $25,000 or $50,000. What's wrong with turning that money into what's wrong with turning $25,000 into $53,000 or $55,000? All you need for is the horse to hit the board. So.
Yes, Vinny and Patrick, count me as one of those show bettors on Derby Day, Vinny.
Agree, Eddie.
I'm not bringing 20 grand in.
I was going to say, you're going to turn it into 50 plus. Brent, it's again, I go back to the fact that everybody gets involved in the Derby. We oftentimes talk about Tiger Woods in golf, right? We want him to draw money in the future pool for a particular event. Why? If you like him, he's going to compete, and we saw what he did at Augusta this year. But if you don't like him, you want him to draw money so that you get a better price on some of the other qualifiers, some of the other contenders for the event. It's the same thing here, where everybody's involved with the race, which is why professionals look at it, and even if it comes up chalky, as we've said, you're still going to get a decent price.
Patrick, your feeling here?
Well, I look at the exotics. Now, last year, even though the favorite won the race, the $1 superfecta paid over $19,000. So I'm looking at plays like that. I don't play show.
You leave that up to me. I don't play superfectas because I got so much trouble just picking the winner. You know what I'm saying, my man? Now, when you do, though, there are people out there, they'd like to know strategy on superfectas. When you get down to 3 and 4, do you make sure you just throw in some of the bombers down there in those spots? Patrick, what do you do when you look at a superfecta?
Brent, that's a great question. What we do is we analyze what we call rundown horses. Horses that we believe are not capable of winning the race, but horses, after everyone's been battling, they've been back there, and they're just going to kind of suck it up into 3rd or 4th position just on their own ability. They're not that good, but they're good enough to get in there at a huge price.
Brent, we oftentimes talk about who do you eliminate from a big race like this, a 20-horse field. Well, as you start eliminating them, then where do you start ranking them? So who do you think is going to be eliminated totally? Who do you think can win the race? And then to Patrick's point, which is spot on, in between, who do you think can contend and maybe get some closing action and finish out your tries, and your superfectas?
Now, with Omaha Beach scratching, Boat Express draws into the race, okay? The only way it got in is with somebody being scratched, and unfortunately, it was the favorite Omaha Beach. So Boat Express will break from number 20. Early on, I saw of about 30 to 1.
Yes.
Would you throw Boat Express out, or would you consider him on some of these exotics we're talking about?
For me, Brent, I wouldn't use Boat Express. I just don't like. I don't like the post position. I know he was second in the Florida Derby. That was also a race that did not have a particularly good pace, in my opinion. I just think this is a matter of class, and for me, he's a throwout.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm not using him. He's one of the toss horses that I have in the race, including both Dubai horses.
And both Dubai horses. So we got 3 that are tossed. All right, we're going to continue taking a look at the running of the Kentucky Derby, Churchill Downs. It's Inside the Derby, presented by ExpressBet. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204 and follow us online at vsin.com and on Twitter at vsin live.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
If you're a loyal follower of VSiN, it's time to take the next step. Sign up for VSiN's free daily newsletter. You'll get an email every single morning with news, analysis, and betting resources to help you improve your handicapping. Dave Tooley tracks the ATS results from the night before. Jeff Fogel offers insights on how to read the ups and downs of the sports betting markets so you know what the sharp bettors are doing. Receive the daily betting schedules from the South Point Sportsbook with games listed in official Nevada rotation order. Watch highlights from VSiN shows, plus learn about special offers and discounts from VSiN. That's all for free. That's all in VSiN's daily newsletter. Sign up at vsin.com/newsletter. That's vsin.com/newsletter. It's kind of like getting a postcard right here from your friends in Las Vegas.
You know, some moms are into flowers, chocolates, and bears for Mother's Day. That's fine for some moms. But there are other moms who are into cool, practical Mother's Day gifts, especially gifts that make their life easier. If that sounds like the mom in your life, she will love getting Blink security cameras for Mother's Day. Seriously, now, this is a great gift, especially now during Blink's huge Mother's Day sale. Blink motion-activated indoor and outdoor cameras are wire-free, set up in minutes, run on 2 lithium batteries that last up to 2 years, and no matter where you are, Blink's live feed option lets you monitor your home, check in on children and pets from anywhere from your Blink smartphone app. No contracts, totally affordable. And now through Mother's Day, May 12th, all indoor Blink cameras and systems are 20% off. You heard it right. 20% off. Home security just got a whole lot easier. Get the perfect Mom's Day gift at blinkprotect.com/sale. blinkprotect.com/sale.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
Welcome back to Inside the Derby and a look at one of the American sports treasures, the Kentucky Derby, presented by VSiN and XpressBet. Well, no one is more insightful about the historical trends that you have to consider when you handicap a race like the Kentucky Derby than Jeremy Plonk, the XpressBet editor-in-chief, and he has been a frequent guest here on VSiN. And Jeremy, with the unfortunate scratch of Omaha Beach, and didn't Richard Mandela deserve a better break than that? But regardless, as we look now at the rest of the field, what trends do you think are really relevant for our handicappers to consider in this year's running of the Derby?
Well, Brent, as you mentioned, scratching the favorite is a big deal, and it's the third time that the morning line favorite has been scratched from the Kentucky Derby in the past decade. The last 2 times it happened, in 2009, I Want Revenge came out of the race the morning of the Derby, and in 2011, Uncle Mo came out about the same time in the week that we saw this year with Omaha Beach. Now, what's significant about that? The public was sent scrambling in both cases. And what happened? In 2009, Mind That Bird won the Derby at 50-1 as the favorite ended up Frisian Fire, a horse nobody thought would be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby at any point in the wagering. The public was sent scrambling, didn't know what to do, and we had one of the most improbable upsets in Derby history. 2 years later, when Uncle Mo went out, what happened? Dialed In became the favorite. That was not a horse people expected to be a Kentucky Derby favorite, and Animal Kingdom upset the apple cart at 20-1. So the 2 times when the favorite went out this late in the game, we've had a $100 horse and a $40 plus horse in the Kentucky Derby. Maybe we're set for some boxcars now.
Yeah, that's an interesting observation. But there's the three Bob Baffert horses, Jeremy, and every time I listen to someone, they seem to be marching in lockstep with the most successful trainer in the history of the Derby. Your feeling about the three Baffert horses here?
Well, right now, the morning line favorite for Mike Battaglia is Game Winner because he was last year's 2-year-old champion, but he's 0 for 2 this year. So is Improbable, who's 0 for 2 for Bob Baffert. They've run well, but they've been beaten in both their starts this year. I've gone back and looked, and I've got a big stack of past performances. I couldn't get far enough back to find the last time the Kentucky Derby favorite hadn't won a race during the course of the calendar year. So that's something that I think the public may end up leaning towards Roadster as the post-time favorite. In fact, I'm going to call it now. I think Roadster will be the post-time favorite for the Kentucky Derby. He beat Game Winner on the square in the Santa Anita Derby. He's undefeated this year. And as we talked about these trends over the past, couple of days, Brent, horses who are undefeated as 3-year-olds have won the Kentucky Derby 6 years in a row. The last several years, you've had to have a 3-race winning streak to win the Kentucky Derby. I mean, if you look at the pre-prep resumes of the horses who have won the Kentucky Derby, 5 straight winners have been right up on the pace, and 6 straight winners have won 3 in a row coming into the Derby. There's only 2 horses in this year's Derby that have won 3 races in a row, Maximum Security and Tacitus. So maybe those are the horses that upset the Bob Baffert card in here, because I think Baffert's got a good hand. But again, I can't find, it's been since 2010, we know that a horse hasn't won on the year and won the Derby. That was Super Saver, who ran 2nd and 3rd in his 2 preps. He's got a similar resume. But you got to go back to the beginning of this decade to find a Derby winner who hadn't won yet as a 3-year-old, much less one that hasn't lost. These horses have been undefeated running through the Derby as sophomores. So it leans against the Bafferts other than Roadster. But I think Roadster will end up the favorite.
All right. Now, another trend, bettors tend to throw out the horse that draws the unlucky number 1. And it's unlucky in the Derby because there's 19 horses outside, and some of them come crashing down. And if he doesn't get out lightning speed, and of course he would tend to burn out of the backstretch. So War of Will drew the unlucky number 1. Will you throw him out automatically? Tell us about that, Jeremy.
Well, right now, with 20 horses in the starting gate, because of the scratch of Omaha Beach, that allowed the 21 Bodie Express to come in. With 20 horses, that means they're using every stall in the gate. And that inside post position starts at a very precarious elbow where the far turn straightens out, where they put the gate for the start of the Kentucky Derby. The horse who comes out, if you're in that very inside stall, is looking at the pine. I mean, you've got to move out to avoid hitting the rail. It's a dangerous spot in there for the one horse if all 20 are in. Now, if we get a scratch, your live show, as we know right now, Hightow is on the border of scratching. He's got a foot abscess. They're going to make a determination Friday at 9 a.m. So people listening to a podcast archive of this show may already know this by then. But Hightow may come out on Friday morning by 9 o'clock. If he scratches, what they'll do is leave the inside stall open and move everybody out one. And that's good for safety, and that's good for the horse on the rail, War of Will. If that one stall becomes open, he's got a much better shot of getting cleaner sailing coming out of there than he does if he's all the way up against the pine and that elbow start. A very tricky thing, but something you want to probably, if you want to bet War of Will, I think you want to wait until scratch time on Friday morning, obviously, and see what happens. That is a very, very important development to this race, potentially, if Hightow comes out.
You mentioned Tacitus, and if you look just at breeding, the sire, of course, is Tappet, and the dam was very successful at distance, won a lot of grade 1s. Now, what do you look at when you're thinking about Tacitus here, Jeremy?
Well, Tacitus is one of those horses with a 3-race win streak. He's got the right resume and right form. His 3-race win streak dates back to last year. He's unbeaten this year. He's got the pedigree. His mama, Close Hatches, was a champion 3-year-old filly in the U.S. His daddy, Tappet's one of the top sires in the world. His trainer, Bill Mott, is a Hall of Famer. At one point in time, he had the most wins in the history of Churchill Downs. He's been passed by Dale Roman since then, but still one of the most successful trainers we've ever seen in horse racing, except in the Kentucky Derby. He has not had much success in the Derby because Bill Mott is a very patient trainer. The Kentucky Derby forces you to be at your absolute best one day in your life. There is only one first Saturday in May of your 3-year-old year. It's not like getting back to the NBA Finals with LeBron or Clayton Kershaw pitching the Dodgers to the World Series several times in your career. There is one day in your life that you can run in the Kentucky Derby for a horse. And Bill Mott is not a guy who's going to push to a particular date. So he hasn't had a ton of starters here. And I just wonder, will Tacitus be that razor-sharp technique that you need to win a Kentucky Derby, like we see with Bob Baffert's horses? Bob points for this race, and he hits a date as good or better than anybody in the history of the game, at least in modern times. So the question with Tacitus is Bill Mott. Is he too patient for his own good? And he's been great for his career, and he's been one of the all-time greats. But you can't pick your date in the Kentucky Derby. They pick the date for you. And that's my question with Tacitus. The other thing is he comes out of the Wood Memorial. And while that race in New York used to be one of the premier prep races coming up to the Kentucky Derby, the calendar has shifted. The Florida Derby horses and the Louisiana Derby horses like that used to show up in the Wood Memorial. But those races are now last preps. So the Wood doesn't get the quality of competition that it used to. And since 2003, when Empire Maker and Funnyside, who incidentally came out of those races back then in Louisiana and Florida, since they ran 1-2 in the Kentucky Derby coming out of the Wood Memorial back in 2003, not a single Wood Memorial alumni has even finished in the trifecta in the top 3 in the Kentucky Derby. That's 15-plus years now. So that's a long streak to go against. Tacitus, I like the horse. I'm not sure about the preparation, and I'm not sure about the prep race.
Speaking of trainers, let's go to Todd Pletcher. Cutting Humor, number 10. Spinoff, number 19. Now, Todd Pletcher also has not had great success at the Kentucky Derby, but who has besides Baffert? But what do you make of the Pletcher horses in this year's Derby?
Well, Pletcher used to struggle in the Kentucky Derby, but he kind of turned the corner about 2010 when Super Saver won. And he's changed his program this past year or two because I think the success of Always Dreaming, winning his second Derby in 2017, Always Dreaming didn't break his maiden until late January. He was kind of a maiden as a horse who wins for the first time in their career for our newer listeners. That horse broke his maiden very late, just like 2.5, 3 months before the Kentucky Derby. I think Pletcher learned then that you don't need to lean on horses so hard as 2-year-olds at Saratoga in the summer and Belmont in the fall and towards the Breeders' Cup, that you can come along a little bit later, a little bit slower, and have a lot of success. Because, look, the shelf life of these horses and their best efforts is narrowing, as we see in modern training. Pletcher's coming into the game a little bit later this year, and I think he's got 2 late bloomers in here, and both are going to be big prices. I don't think either one is going to get bet. And it's Todd Pletcher who's had some success. Remember, he won it 2 years ago with Always Dreaming. Last year, he was a very good third with Audible. Audible ran an excellent race in behind the Triple Crown winner Justify. So Todd's got to figure it out, I think, a little bit more for the Kentucky Derby. His stats still stink overall. He's like 2 for 50, in the Derby. The numbers overall look bad, but if you bring it into the more of the recency and the recent past, he's kind of got it going right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the Pletcher horses made a little bit of noise. They're going to be big prices, that's for sure.
So, Jeremy, your top 5 and your big horse for the Derby. Who you got?
Well, I'll start with the big horse. I think that the Express Bet Florida Derby winner, and I'm not just being the company line here because that's our race at Gulfstream Park, but I really think Maximum Security is the horse to beat in this race. Not only do I think it, Bob Baffert thinks it. A couple weeks ago when someone said, who do you have to fear in the Kentucky Derby? Bob Baffert's first name was Maximum Security. That Florida Derby winner was something. Just asked the other day, Bob Baffert, about his horses. Who else do you think can run? Maximum Security. That's the horse Bob Baffert fears. And I think there's good reason for it. The last 5 furlongs of the Florida Derby, 5/8 of a mile in a 1 1/8 race. The last 5 furlongs of that race were run under a minute, 59 4/5 seconds. I've done Countdown to the Crown, the weekly scouting report for the last 14 years. I can never remember the last 5 furlongs of a race of that importance on the Kentucky Derby Trail going at 59 4/5. That was a phenomenal come-home time. I know the early pace was slow, but he came home like an express. I don't know how good he is. He hasn't run many races against top-flight competition, but neither had Big Brown when he won the Kentucky Derby coming out of the same kind of look back in 2008. So I think Maximum Security is the horse to beat. I thought it was a 2-horse race coming in with Omaha Beach and Maximum Security. I guess the misfortune, obviously, for the backers and the connections of the post-time or the morning line favorite coming out may come to the benefit of somebody like me who was looking at this as a 2-horse race. Now I'm solidly on top. So Maximum Security for me, for sure. I think you have to respect all 3 of the Bob Baffert horses. I think they could easily run among the superfecta in the top 4. As for price horses, Country House, the other one for Bill Mott. This is a late running horse. I know Stuck Out Towards the Outside will be post 19, where Saddle Clock 20, but Country House is going to go way to the back, move over to the left, and then try to pass horses at the end. The outside post should not be a problem for that horse. The problem will be trying to get through traffic coming from way back, 19th or 20 early on. By my standards, a horse I know that Millie liked early on the show from the workouts, by my standards is a long shot to take a look at. Trainer Brett Calhoun hits 27% in Churchill Downs graded stakes races over the last 5 years. That's twice the rate of Bob Baffert. Bob Baffert's 13% at Churchill Downs in graded stakes. He does great in the Kentucky Derby. But Brett Calhoun, watch him. He's the trainer of By My Standards, 27% at Churchill. Another price horse to look at, Code of Honor for Shug McGahee. Tacitus obviously belongs in that mix as well. So a couple good-looking prices I think that we can try to get in there. But if you're playing the Superfecta, that's the top 4 finishers, it's hard not to think there's not going to be 2 Bafferts in there. You know, they look like second, third, fourth. Even if you like somebody else to win, you've got to use the Bafferts in those under spots.
All right, the encyclopedia of the Kentucky Derby. It is always great listening to Jeremy Plonk, the Express Bet editor-in-chief. Jeremy, thank you so much. And when we come back, Vinny and Patrick, they're on the clock. Who do they like? Can they cash a Superfecta? VSiN.com, Sirius XM 204. It's Inside the Derby, presented by ExpressBet. You can listen to VSiN on Sirius XM channel 204 and follow us online at vsin.com and on Twitter at VSiN Live.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, ExpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download ExpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with ExpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. For your prohibited national gambling support line 800-522-4700.
This Mom for the Win moment is brought to you by The Books, where the Mother's Day flowers your mom deserves are 20% off. I will never forget the day that I I actually stole a maid's car and drove it around the blocks. And of course, my mother learned about it. But she just pointed out that I was only 13 years old, and please don't ever do that again. And she never told my father. I have never, ever forgotten that moment. And so now you should remember your mom on Mother's Day. Books. Send the Mom's Day flowers your mom deserves from The Books. Order today. Get an extra 20% off when you enter Brent, B-R-E-N-T. That is Books, BOUQS.com. Enter Brent to save an extra 20% off. Your mom deserves the best. Books.com.
Check out the VSiN store for the latest and greatest in sports betting fashion. We have more than 40 shirt designs, including our most popular one, Cash and Tickets is what it's all about. Then there's the latest addition to the VSiN store, I Fade Mr. Poison. You'll find VSiN shirts and hats for any occasion, and they're all made to order so you can find the right design, color, and size that's perfect for you. Are you recovering from a bad beat? Well, we have a shirt that'll make you look a whole lot better than you feel. Burned by some late scoring? Maybe you should wear this shirt as a reminder. It's not under until it's over. And if you're a fan of a particular VSiN show, we've got a shirt for you too. You'll find VSiN hats and even VSiN coffee mugs, all in our online store. Go to vsin.com/store and order now. That's vsin.com/store.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, ExpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download ExpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with ExpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. For your prohibited national gambling support line 800-522-4700.
Welcome back to Inside the Derby and a look at one of the American sports treasures, the Kentucky Derby, presented by VSiN and ExpressBet. All right, it is time for Patrick McQuiggan and Vinny Magliulo to step up to the plate. Patrick, give us an idea. You say you like the Superfecta, so how are you going to approach it in this year's running of the Kentucky Derby?
The way I'm going to play the Superfecta is I'm going to use 4 horses on top. I'm going to use Improbable, Maximum Security, Game Winner, and Tacitus. And I'll probably use all 4 in the second hole, add a couple more into the third hole, and then use the horses that I think are going to run into the race, like Vacomo at 20-1, Win at 15-1, Country House at 30-1, maybe Code of Honor, and I'll just use those horses in the fourth hole.
Good luck, my friend.
Was that a blessing or an endorsement?
You know what I mean. Vinny, how are you going to approach the Derby?
Well, Brent, no secret. Even before Omaha Beach being scratched, I was a big believer in Game Winner. I'm going to take Game Winner. I'm going to bet Game Winner across. And I'm going to bet an exacta box with Improbable, Maximum Security, Tacitus, Game Winner, and Roadster. I know that's very chalky. It's all about Baffert, but I don't think you can throw Baffert out. And then a tri-box as well with those very same horses. So, for me, I think it's very difficult to leave Baffert out of this race, especially with what's happened with the scratch of Omaha Beach. I know that the public will be all over Baffert as well. One of the questions that Patrick and I were talking about as well was I wonder if one of these horses, probably Game Winner, will go off as a shorter favorite than if Omaha Beach would have remained in the race and gone off as the favorite. I tend to think so simply because of the popularity of Bob Baffert. I know it's chalky, but if there's ever a chalky race to get involved with, it's usually the Derby.
Patrick, you mentioned a horse we haven't talked about, Vacoma. Javier Castellano has not had success at Churchill Downs, yet we all know he's a heck of a rider, and this horse has won 3 of 4, run third the other time, breaking from the 6th post. Pretty good price on Vacoma, and you get a terrific rider.
I really do, and the one thing about this horse when he's running, and I know people are not going to use him because he paddles. A horse that paddles, he takes his right front and he flips it around. It looks strange when he runs. So I know a lot of people watching that last race, they're not going to use him because of that. But there's some great horses that paddled.
A couple of horses that were mentioned. Also, Win. Pretty good price on this horse. Feeling that you might use him in some of the exotics, Patrick?
I have to, Brent. This horse broke a track record at Tampa Bay for 7 furlongs. And this horse has speed in his past races. So I think he has the ability to get good position, and they've taken him back, and they think he's a big closer. I think he's going to set a real good trip, and he's a good price, 15-1. And he did set a new track record at Tampa Bay. I think he has a ton of ability.
And, Patrick, we heard Jeremy Plonk from ExpressBet say that he thought Roadster would wind up as the favorite, the winner of the Santa Anita Derby, one of the 3 Baffert horses. You're not so sure of that.
I can't see that, Brent, with Game Winner being the 2-year-old champion, and they're setting him up to run well in the Kentucky Derby. I think he's ready to run a bigger race than he's ran so far as a 3-year-old. I see Game Winner as the favorite.
I agree, Brent. I just, again, you've got Game Winner is the new favorite. I think he remains the favorite right up until post time.
And of course, you've been on Game Winner all along, even when Omaha Beach was in the race. Now, what about Maximum Security? And one of the reasons why I go there, a big East Coast crowd descends on Louisville, and this is the horse that is undefeated, 4 of 4. Winner of the Florida Derby, and we heard that Baffert had very nice things to say about Maximum Security, feeling that he was the horse to beat. Is there a chance that the money is going to pound in on this undefeated horse?
Brent, that's a terrific point. I know that there's a lot of very respected, sharp opinions on the 3-horse by my standards, but I think that we're hearing the same thing about Maximum Security. One thing's for sure, he comes in fresh out of the Florida Derby. I mean, March 30th. So, for me, I'm going to use him, as I indicated, in my exotics, and I think he will draw some more money as well. I think for me, if you said, Vinny, give me one, if you had a choice between By My Standards or Maximum Security in that mid-range in terms of the odds, for me, I'd go with Maximum Security.
And Maximum Security is 10-1 morning line. I imagine he'll be down to about 6-1 is my spot there. The only concern I have with Maximum Security, all his races are at Gulfstream Park. He hasn't been elsewhere, and sometimes those horses don't transfer that form to another track.
And of course, I know you're not going to approach this, but in the show pool on the outside, having listened to our Express Bet experts, Country House, trained by Bill Mott. I will have a show bet there. A spinoff trained by Todd Fletcher. I'll go there. Then we had prices upwards of 30-1 on these two horses.
Well, we've heard that, and certainly, Brent, you've got to pay attention to it. For me, though, again, the distance and the class. But if you're going to make a show bet, well, you may as well make it on a horse, on a couple of horses.
On a bomber.
They're
30-1.
I mean, why not?
And I'll have Tacitus is going to be my quality horse to win. I know he's going to be a short price. He's apt to be a contender also for the favorite by the time they go to the post. There's going to be some money pour in. The horsemen are going to show up. They like that breeding, with the sire being Tapit. They're going there with their cash.
Well, and the number one points getter, too, in terms of the prep races. So if you like that angle, then there you have it.
Well, we hope that you have found some ideas and the way to approach the running of this year's Kentucky Derby. Patrick McQuiggan, thank you so much for being with us. We always appreciate it. And thank you also for not giving me a horse shipping in from Dubai. And Vinny Magliulo trying to swing me toward the chalk. But, of course, I won't go completely there because I still like the show bet because cash and tickets is what it's all about. Have a great weekend and cash some winners on the Kentucky Derby, everybody. It's Inside the Derby, presented by XpressBet. You can listen to VSiN on SiriusXM Channel 204 and follow us online at vsin.com and on Twitter at VSiN Live.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in the state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.
Attention serious horse players, this is a pop-up edition of the Ron Flatter Mini Racing Pod, the Kentucky Derby Preview with Patrick McQuiggan.
It's such a fantastic race. Think about it. It's 144 years of history of this race. I get excited for this time of year, the Kentucky Derby.
Dave Tooley.
We're all trying to find the winner here, but trying to build those exotic tickets are just as important because the payoffs are always huge just because of all the mathematical possibilities with the 20-horse field.
Vinny Magliulo.
There's great value. Everybody gets involved. It could be the casual fan to the more sophisticated fan. And the reason that it has that appeal is because of the size of the field.
The four of us will go through all 20 horses in the Derby field, one by one, and you can hear it right now. The pop-up edition of the Ron Flatter Racing Pod, available through Apple, Google, Stitcher, and at vsin.com/podcasts. Sponsored by XpressBet.
Taming the briar patch, mowing the lawn, or trimming Yeti, whatever you call it, it's about time. We all talked about manscaping. 9 out of 10 women of all ages prefer their guy manscaped. But you gotta have the right tools for the jewels. Pop over to manscaped.com. Check out their perfect package, the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. That was a smash hit on Shark Tank. It features the lawn mower, a precision trimmer engineered for below-the-waist grooming. Its skin-safe technology means no more accidental nicks and burns. Check out the lawnmower and the amazing grooming and hygiene products that come with your perfect package. Get 20% off plus free shipping today. Visit manscaped.com. Use the promo code BETS. Again, use promo code BETS at manscaped.com. Manscaped.com.
North America's premier horse race, the Kentucky Derby, takes place this Saturday at historic Churchill Downs. And if you're interested in betting the races, XpressBet is the only way you'll want to play. Sign up for a new account today to receive a $200 sign-up bonus and download XpressBet's free Kentucky Derby wager guide. Visit expressbet.com/Brent and use promo code Brent200 to claim your bonus. That's promo code Brent200 at expressbet.com/Brent. Must be 18 or older to open an account with XpressBet LLC and reside in a state where such activity is legal. Void where prohibited. National Gambling Support Line 800-522-4700.